Welcome to the High Performance Fatherhood Podcast, a podcast focused on helping dads move from fear-driven responsibility to high-performance fatherhood. I am your host, Troy Woods. What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the High Performance Fatherhood Podcast. I am your host, Troy Woods, and we are the eve before Thanksgiving 2021, and I wanted to jump in here really quick just to chat about something that's circulating in the news right now, and I'm not sure if everybody is looking at it with the same perspective that I am, but I wanted to just kind of put this out there, something for us all to think about. I'm talking about the verdict that was read today in the Ahmaud Arbery case. And I do believe that justice was served, without a doubt. But there's an angle to this that I'm looking at. You obviously know what this podcast is about, so you probably know, or you might have a good idea where I'm going with this. But what was disturbing to me, beyond the fact that somebody was murdered, was the fact that you had a father and a son charged for murder in the same case. That was kind of mind-blowing to me. It wasn't surprising. It was just like, it just really made me sit back and think about this whole thing. You know, there's a narrative out there, and it's not hardly with everybody, but there are a lot of people that think dads aren't really needed in the home. And typically when we talk about how dads are needed in the home, we're talking about it in a positive light. We're talking about a positive influence that fathers have in the home. Well, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Here we have a case of a father who obviously has taught hate and racism to his son. And we see this play out in history so much. We see it in so many different aspects. Like, you wonder, it's been around, hate's been around for so long. How can we still be seeing it today in the generations that are here now? It's passed down through the generations. So we're not going to get into necessarily the hate and racism on this podcast. What I want to just briefly talk about is just the impact of dads. See, we have the ability to really shift society and cultures, right? As men, as fathers, we have the ability, and this case shows it, we have the ability to shift society and culture based on how we behave and how we show up, right? Because when the verdict was read today, the son stood first, right? When the first verdict was read, guilty, Ahmaud's dad had an outburst in the courtroom, and I get it. It's been pent up emotion, frustration, anger, hurt, everything. I get it. I don't have a problem with the outburst, but it's just so weird. On one hand, you have his dad happy that his son is getting some justice, and on the other side of the table, you have a dad who helped his son murder another individual. Two different worlds, two different outcomes, both showing maybe, you know what, this guy over here that was convicted, I'm sure he loves his son. Whatever way, I don't know, but I'm sure he loves his son. But we see the difference in the love that fathers can give. We have to be so careful as we raise our children. A pastor once said, or not once, but he said oftentimes, that more is caught than taught. You can tell kids, you can teach and tell kids as much as you want, but ultimately they're going to do what they see you doing. And you think about years ago, before social media, before media, before all of this connectivity that we had, when you were growing up, when you were raised, a lot of how you developed came from what you saw and experienced from the people around you. So while at the same time we say that dads need to be there, dads need to be involved, it's true. But if you're going to be there, if you're going to be involved, you have to understand the impact of what your role is ultimately going to play with your child. Are they going to learn to be loving, considerate of others, loving and considerate of others from you? Or are they going to learn hatred? They're going to learn racism. They're going to learn isolation. Are they going to learn a singular aspect versus a team aspect? Are they going to learn? Which one are they going to learn from you? A lot of, and this has been a springboard for the 300 Fathers platform, is that a lot of things that we see showing up in society today, a lot of different things, a lot of things to me that are passed off as being one thing, I think at the root cause, it's the fact that dads aren't there. Often I see things show up, I see people, I see issues, and I see different things showing up. And the first question to ask in the back of my mind is, I wonder if his or her father is present in their life. And if he's present, what role is he playing? It's interesting. Even in this country, when this country was founded, they call those men the founding fathers. The founding fathers. Think about that. They didn't just call them the organizers. They didn't just call them, fathers. The founding fathers. Not even founding members. The founding fathers. I get it was men. Founding fathers. They set the stage. Those founding fathers put the blueprint in for this country. As fathers, that's what we have to do for our family. And get it. Granted, kids get older, they ultimately make their decisions, but I don't think many kids grow up and do things that are just so far. Like if you've been doing what you're supposed to do as a dad, you've been there, you've been present, you've been providing, you've been active, et cetera, et cetera. I have a hard time believing that if a kid does kind of go left, that they're going to go left from the standpoint of they're going to stray a long way away from your teachings and what it is you were trying to share with them. I have a hard time believing that. So I want to encourage dads. I know it's tough, man. I know depending on your situation. We talked about this in the last podcast, the last episode. I know your situation can be a couple different ways. But I want to encourage you to not just be in the life of your child or your children, but be mindful of the direction that you may be setting them on. They're going to take the essence of who you are. They're going to absorb it and implement that in their life. You may not even see it initially. You may not see it. But they're going to take who you are, and it's going to help shape who they become. The question we have to start asking ourselves is, are we ready for that? This case, although I was happy about the verdict, I began to wonder how many other situations are like that. How many other kids are going down a negative path because of their dad? How many kids are going to make? Now, we don't know what the sentencing is going to be. Their lives are pretty much shot. Of course, as a father, he's already older, but son's life is probably done. I think he got the worst of it all. As far as guilt, he was guilty on everything. But we have to begin to wonder, okay, I'm going to be there, but am I just there, or am I making a positive impact? You're going to make impact either way. I guarantee you, if you make a decision to be in the life of your child, you're going to make impact. It's up to you to figure out, is that impact going to be positive or is it going to be negative? That's your decision. That's the weight that we bear. No matter how we feel, no matter how we want to show up. Is my impact to my child going to be positive or is it going to be negative? If you're rolling with us, if you're part of our community, if you're part of what it is we're trying to build here, the answer is going to be you're going to have a positive impact. Make sure you stay around positive men, positive influences in your life. I know I know we go through a lot as men. I know we go through a lot as fathers. A lot that we bear. A lot that people will never understand. But at the end of the day, you got to make a positive impact on your child. Let's start to change the narrative on this so we don't have to see this anymore in society. Catch you on the next one. Thank you for listening to another episode of the High Performance Fatherhood Podcast. For questions, comments, or suggestions, feel free to email us at podcast@300fathers.com.